Late night host Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert were unsurprisingly not thrilled at Donald Trump's victory.
And in this democracy, the majority has spoken, and they said they don't care that much about democracy.
Here to discuss is Blaze Media correspondent Julio Rosas. So, Julio, I mean, at this point, when we look at this, what's the difference right now between a talk show host and a liberal pundit?
Well, I can tell you the same thing they have in common right now is that they're all crying, which is a great thing to see, honestly, because ever since Trump's first victory, right, in 2016, I mean, the reaction was so obviously shocking, but then they went into overdrive in terms of their reaction to it, and that's what was so entertaining the first time, and then obviously when he didn't get that second term in 2020, then there was that smugness, right? It was like, see, we were going to reject all of that what Trump stands for and all that. Like, we as a nation are finally back on track. And that's why it's so significant that Trump not only won more in the Electoral College, but he won the popular vote, right? So now they can't use that talking point of, oh, well, America didn't really want him because he didn't win the popular vote. But it's because the Biden-Harris administration was so terrible that Trump gained virtually almost every single voting block. And so that's what makes the meltdown from not just, Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Kimmel is so great. It's because they need to come to terms that, maybe having a mashed potato for brains president and a DEI hire for vice president, that doesn't really work out too well to have a country, right? That doesn't actually do well for the nation.
All right, we both mentioned Jimmy Kimmel. Let's go ahead and listen to what he thinks is bad for the country right now.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
It's a bad night for everybody who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet, Julio. You're too dumb to figure this out. I think his tears are real. What do you think?
Yeah, again, there's that with Kimmel. There's even more of that smugness where, again, it's like, oh, like, you don't really know. I know. I know what's best, and so therefore you have to listen to me. And when I'm not getting it. So I just think, again, I think that's why it was so important that Trump not only won, but he won soundly, right? Because there's just so many issues that Democrats were trying to downplay in this election. Saying the economy is actually fantastic. And actually, no, the border's Trump's fault. The border's Republicans' fault. It's not our fault. It's actually other people's faults. Foreign policy, we're doing great. Sure, there might be all these different wars that started under our leadership, but you still have to stick with us, right? So it just highlights just how out of touch, not just these late night show hosts, but even people like Joe Scarborough and The View, right? I mean, they're so out of touch. This is another dose of reality that they need to experience because people are fed up. People are fed up with how things were, and they made their voices heard on Tuesday night.
What really cracks me up about this is that it's not funny. And that's what's funny to me. I mean, it's the opposite of humor. I mean, humor is about taking two disparate things and kind of putting them together, like an ugly person talking to a really good-looking person, and there's potential for comedy, And this is just pure sort of cringe, and it's acted, it's scripted. And you look at people who have no right to be talking to you about politics whatsoever. Then either, I think actually he's crying about the fact that his cover is blown, and it doesn't matter how woke he pretends, he's going to get in trouble for things in the future. But who knows, right? I mean, so when you look at it, I was watching Seth, what's his name, Meyers, the other night too.
Meyers, yes. I mean,
I wouldn't even want to show the clip because it would just assault people's senses, and their brain would still be hurting like mine is after watching 30 seconds of it. Don't you think that there's a potential here now for the ratings to plummet even further now that the emperor wears no clothes? I mean, it almost feels like the networks are subsidizing these guys. How far do you think they could fall? Do you think there'll be an actual change in late night?
I don't think so, and it's just because you look at the media as a whole, right? I mean, they went with this strategy of, again, the overreaction that I was talking about the first time Trump won, and they've doubled down on it. I mean, the media overall is less popular than Congress, and Congress sucks. I mean, and they don't see that, like, or they don't realize it. Yeah, sure, they might see the poll, and again they just think, oh well, we're not the problem, you're the problem. So I think I think with late night as well, and that applies to late night as well. And so I think maybe it would have to take changes in leadership at the very top for the companies that own the stations and everything in order for. But even when we saw with like CNN, right, when Chris Lick was in charge briefly, he did try to change things up. He said, hey, this isn't working. We're losing viewership. We're losing money. No one is tuning into us. We're not respected anymore. And how did they react? So CNN had a revolt and they pushed him out. And now they're going back virtually almost to the same playbook. Yeah, that might make some money in the short term. But I think long term, yeah, people tune out. They don't want to listen to it. They see just how, like you said, it's just cringe. It's just cringe. I mean, there's a grown man crying on television that's supposed to be comedy. I mean, that's ridiculous. I got better things to do than to see that. So no, this was proverbially a smack in the face and dose of reality that was much needed for not just late night TV, but for a lot of people in the nation.
Julio, we do have way better things to do. 24 hours ago, you and I were at Trump headquarters, probably going live about this point in the night. What were your takeaways from being there in the room during what was an historical night?
It was as much as it was a celebration, it was a sense of relief because talking to the Trump campaign people and just Republican operatives in general. I mean, the sense was we have to win this. I mean, if we don't win this, there's no go. We're going to go off the cliff, right? And so again, I think it was. I mean, it was pretty cool to be there because the first time Trump won, I was in a college common room watching the election, right? And so it was his win that got me interested into actually dropping out of school and going into journalism. And now almost 10 years later, I'm at the final victory party, for his second term. So I think that's kind of personally, that's kind of like a cool journey that we've kind of gone through collectively. So it was a great night. I was very tired, but it was a sense of relief as much as it was a celebration. And now he's got to deliver. He has the mandate, and now he's got to deliver on everything. And hopefully, he stays at Mar-a-Lago as much as he can before the election, because obviously there's still quite a few people out there that want to might try to do something nefarious, and hopefully that doesn't happen.